Hi, everyone. My name is Tammy Morgan, and I teach AP Environmental Science at the Lake Placid High School in upstate New York. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to choose a project, how to develop an action planning worksheet with your students, and then I'm going to go over an example of a project that my students have worked on themselves, give you my timeline for how I progress throughout the year, and talk about how to help students with progress sheets. And then I'll briefly explain how I have my students submit their work and give presentations. So at first, at the very beginning of the year, I think it's really important to establish the idea of them choosing their own project and being excited about it all year long, because this is something that they're going to be working on for the entire year. So it needs to be something that they are passionate about. And most AP students are juniors and seniors. They should be starting to ask that question, what am I really excited about? So I start off the year showing them UN sustainability goals and just ask them to identify with which one of those goals they are most concerned about and want to do something about, or which problems they want to solve. Then they do some brainstorming about, okay, well, now I know what I'm most concerned about. How can I address that area in my school or in my community? And then how can I also address that in a global way? So the one thing I really like about AP with Lee is that asking students to really think both locally and globally at the same time. And the workbooks are really good at helping you come up with graphic organizers and tools to help them brainstorm. But if you have other tools that you'd rather use, you don't have to use the workbook. And so I've made my own graphic organizers that I use with my students. Once they do that, they develop a climate action plan. So right away in September, the goal is to have them figure out and ask, what is my passion? What do I really want to do? Then the second thing is try to help them turn that goal into an actual plan. And that's where you really need to give them some structure. And so I have an action planning worksheet, and the first draft of that is due before Thanksgiving break, so that then they have a plan before they go off on holidays. And it's important for them to understand that that's a working document and that it will change throughout the year as their project grows and morphs into a more tangible thing at the end. Within that project planning document, you need to ask your students to develop SMART goals, things that are very specific goals, not just huge, broad goals like, I want to save the world. It needs to be very specific, and they need to understand, or they need to identify how it's going to be measurable. And it also needs to be something attainable within the scope of one school year, and it should be relevant and time-based. So this is really important. Identifying more than one goal, I think, is important, and they need to come up with 3 or 4 to make sure that they've got some background. This next thing they have to do in that project planning thing is find a mentor, and that's not necessarily you. If they're really interested in art and their project is they're gonna take on an artistic spin to whatever it is they're studying, then you may not be the expert in that field. I certainly am not. So they need to be connected with someone who can help them do that. And as a teacher, I find myself as a facilitator often helping them find that person, whether it's someone in the district or someone in the community that can help them reach their goals. Once they have that, they need to create a working timeline that they consult throughout the year. And again, all of this has to be completed before November, just so that they have a plan for how am I going to get from point A to the end of the year and actually have a finished product. So they'll consult with us throughout the year so that they can tweak it. Again, that's why it's a working document, because maybe you thought you could accomplish one goal by January, but that didn't happen. Well, okay, so then we adjust that and change it, and that's fine. So now I'm going to switch goals and talk to you about one of the projects that my students have worked on throughout the last couple of years with AP with WAVE. They started a community composting program that they have called Placid Earth, and you're looking at a logo that one of the students developed for that program. Now, community projects can be carried over from year to year. They don't have to be. Each student is going to have their own project that they want to work on. And some of them will hear about something that a student did the year before and maybe want to follow up on that. And that's what happened with me. I had some students that wanted to deal with the food waste problem in our school. All of the school's food waste was going to a transfer station where it went to a landfill. And they were not okay with that. And they wanted to start composting. But we live in Northern New York, and composting during the winter is not really a feasible solution for us unless you have some kind of infrastructure that allows you to do that. And North Country School is a private school in our area that had built a drum composter that could handle food waste in the winter in our region. And so we partnered up with them. And the first year, students brought all of our school's food waste to them and collected a lot of data on how much food we were actually throwing away. And they prevented that food from going to the transfer station. So they succeeded in their goals that year. And then the next year, students armed with the data from the previous year applied for grant funding. And that grant funding allowed us to get the funds needed to build our own drum composter system. And then in 2020, now that we had our drum composter system, those students developed a website and some branding. And with that, they were able to open up the composting program to families and businesses, small businesses in the community. And so they started up a student-run and operated business, which this year students are expanding upon as well. So this is the way our composting program works now. We have our buckets with the logo on them, and any family that signs up through our website will get a bucket. And when they fill their bucket, they will bring it to the shed, and the dirty buckets will go on one side of the shed, and then they'll pick up a clean bucket to take home for later. Once 3 days a week, the students take all of the buckets and they'll weigh them, and they will collect data and add, for every 4 pounds of food waste, they'll add 1 pound of a carbon source. And for us, what works well are wood pellets. So they add that, they feed that mixture into the drum, and we've been able to maintain temperatures between 80 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, even here in Lake Placid in the middle of the winter with temperatures well below zero. Then the students wash the buckets and return them back to the shed so that the process can start all over again. And so far, they've been able to convert over 17,000 pounds of food waste to compost, diverting that from landfills. But more importantly, the students are getting incredible career readiness skills. They've learned how to write grants. They've learned how to compost, and they've had to understand customer service and public speaking, a lot of different really incredible skills that will be way more important than anything they learn in the classroom. So back to how you could bring this back to your own classroom. I have my students kind of put the project in the background until after the AP exam. And after the AP exam, this is what they do in APES. They don't do anything else other than work on their project. And because they now have dedicated class time to getting stuff done, even the students that have kind of slacked off and not done anything, they're able to pull something off by the end of the year. So again, at the end, we make sure that they set goals every single week, and then they address at the end of the week, did I accomplish those goals? Did I come up with obstacles, identify those, and figure out a way to compensate for them? So looking at the year as a whole, they start in December or September trying to just come up with the idea. And then by November, they've got their action plan, and some of them will be off to the races and be working on their project for that whole rest of the year. Others will pick it up more at the end after the AP exam, and then that's when they'll every single week have things that they need to accomplish to get their goals, to meet their goals. And June is the project presentations and the share out with the community. So the last part of my presentation is talking about the project presentations and how the students will submit their work. I really like having my students use the digital portfolio on AP Classroom. So, and I was really, it's a super easy platform to use. All I have to do is remember through my regular AP Classroom to select the edit button and then make sure I'm signed up with AP with Service. Once I am, the digital portfolio is super user friendly, and my students can upload their work and I can grade their work right here. Then the end is the project presentation piece. And I used to always have a public presentation, and we would send out invitations to all the project mentors, people in the community that had partnered with students on their projects. And we would invite the students that were going to be taking the course next year. Last year was a little different and odd. So what we did to be creative was we created a website platform that had the Zoom links, and this was kind of what our invitation looked like that we sent out to people. And the students did a really good job of presenting through Zoom. And because it was Zoom, they actually had the highest attendance that we've ever had, which was really kind of cool. So you can do it even through COVID. It works. It's a great program. And the deliverables from this, to me, are way more important than anything else I do in the program. So I highly encourage you to try it out. And that's it. Have a great day.